I recently came across a paper analysing the architecture and geomorphology of two megalithic tombs near Menjez in Lebanon. This is part of a broader project studying multiple aspects of the 45 extant megalithic monuments in the region. I wasn't very familiar with these particular monuments before, so I got reading and found them to be really interesting. In this video, I give an overview of the Menjez Monuments, their excavation history, and details of the current project before discussing this latest paper, which looks at the phases of construction and the types of monoliths used in two of the tombs. Before we get started, just a quick note about my Patreon. If you would like to join my community, details are in the description below. We have group chats going on talking everything ancient history. I give updates on my travel and personal research into Cyclopean walls and cart ruts, and other links, maps, photos, and videos that I think will be interesting to the group. Anyway, back to the Menjez Monuments. Not that many megaliths have been recorded in Lebanon compared to other areas of the Near East. Those that have been found over the years are all in the north, either near Mount Hermel or in the Akkar region. The largest concentration of megalithic monuments in Lebanon is located near the village of Menjez in the Akkar Hills. They are around 3 kilometers south of the Na el Kabir River that runs along the border with Syria. Since they were discovered, 87 megalithic tombs have been recorded there in total. However, only 45 of these can still be seen today. There were also 5 structures there referred to as houses. However, what their function actually was is unknown. The Menjez megaliths are divided into groups, each one containing between 1 and 12 monuments. They have been dated to between the 4th and 3rd millennia BCE, so fall into the Chalcolithic and Bronze Age, and are found alongside concentrations of pottery and lithic material. Other megalithic monuments have also been documented outside of Menjez in the neighbouring areas of Talayla, Kuatkra, Fradis, and Debabiye. 8 types of megalithic tombs have been identified. They mostly contain one funerary chamber that's either circular, quadrangular, or rectangular, and are surrounded by semicircular or circular walls referred to as crowns. Originally, they had corbelled roofs. In the various research papers on them, they're referred to sometimes as tombs and other times as dolmens, although they don't take the traditional dolmenic form seen at other sites. The monuments at Menjez were first surveyed and documented in the 1960s by the Jesuit priest and archaeologist Maurice Talon. In 1995, the pottery sherds he had found during excavations were studied by Tara Steimer, and then renewed archaeological investigations took place in 2017 and 2018. The campaign in 2018 included cleaning, studying, and 3D modelling 12 monuments with the intention of making them accessible to the public. Since one was on private land, eventually 11 of these were made accessible via a hiking trail, and also have an accompanying museum called the Heritage House of Menjez, where excavated artifacts from the tombs are on display. A collaborative project between Swiss and Polish archaeological teams was launched in 2022 and runs until 2025. It's called the MEG-A project, First Megalith Builders in the Northern Levant, and is funded by the Swiss National Science Foundation and Poland's National Science Centre. The project has several goals. Firstly, to refine the chronology of the monuments using additional techniques to those used in the past, such as luminescence dating. Secondly, to determine a cultural framework for this ancient society, including an understanding of its ritual identity. Thirdly, to work out what the paleo environment was like in the Akkar Hills at the time the tombs were built, and from this to establish the subsistence strategies of the megalithic communities there. The paper I'm discussing in this video, which focuses on the architecture and geology of the monuments, utilises data from this comprehensive research project. But first, I just want to point out another interesting piece of research I read regarding pictograms found on some of the structures. In 2020, a paper was published in the journal Akkadica, which detailed 63 pictograms carved into blocks within 12 of the monuments. Cupules were the most common motif represented. Parallel lines, V-shapes, U-shapes, a cross, a circle, and a triangle were also found. One of the most interesting motifs was that of a snake, with 4 examples being identified in total. Other megalithic monuments don't have many carvings, if they have any at all, so I thought this was rather intriguing. I can't put photos here because Akkadica isn't published under a Creative Commons license, but quite frankly, they're very hard to make out anyway. The paper I'm discussing today was published in the Journal of Archaeological Method and Theory and uses buildings archaeology and geomorphology to analyse the tombs. Such methodology has been used in the past for studying the Western European megalithic monuments, in particular those in Brittany, France. However, this is the first time it has been applied to Levantine megalithic architecture, where it has been adapted for the local basalt used in construction. In the paper, the study of 2 tombs is discussed out of 24 that were analysed in total. They are labelled as ST118 and ST129 and are part of the group known as the MEG-A sector in Krum Metalme, southwest of the village of Menjez. The group contains 8 megalithic tombs alongside a structure referred to as a double apse house and labelled as ST120 on the map, several cyclopean walls and a few terrace walls. However, it's not clear if the tombs, house and walls belong to the same time period. Tomb ST118 sits on sloping ground that has been artificially terraced. It's made up of an irregular circular chamber with an internal diameter of 2.3 meters from north to south and 1.9 meters from east to west. It's surrounded by 10 orthostats, which are supported at the front and back by a pavement and a crown wall respectively. The pavement is made up of 3 huge stone slabs resting on a foundation of smaller stones that also extend into the chamber. Although no longer extant, the tomb originally had a corbelled roof, parts of which are still in place. The circular chamber is accessed via a 1.5 metre long corridor on a south to southwest axis. A crown wall made up of large megaliths encircles the tomb. Tomb ST118 was built in a single construction phase, split into 8 stages, starting with the stone foundation and ending with the roof. An analysis of the megaliths shows that they were worked and positioned to ensure stability of the structure, and some of them were probably especially selected for symbolic reasons. Tomb ST129 is also located on a terraced slope. It's made up of a circular chamber measuring 2.3 meters in diameter and surrounded by 3 orthostats. More would have been present originally. The pavement is made up of 3 large slabs and, just as with Tomb ST118, the whole structure is encircled by a crown wall. Its access corridor also sits on a south to southwest axis and measures 1.75 meters in length. The northern end of this corridor is framed by 2 entrance orthostats and a slab between them lying on its edge. This suggests a clearly demarcated transition zone. At the southern end, a slab is placed in the corridor, probably to block it off. A square platform surrounds the crown but is not uniform in its construction. Part of it is made up of cyclopean masonry using huge blocks, and part of it is made up of smaller blocks. In front of the eastern wall of the platform, 3 orthostats have been placed and appear to have been ornamental. Since Tomb ST129 is not as well preserved as Tomb ST118, it wasn't possible to determine the full construction sequence. However, 11 stages were identified. Just as with Tomb ST118, the monoliths appear to have been worked or placed intentionally to provide stability to the structure, with some playing a symbolic role. In each tomb, the entrance orthostats are symmetrical to one another, and they are both oriented to the south. The researchers determined that the non-vesicular basalt B0 that was used for constructing both tombs had been quarried in the south of the necropolis. Only 1 block of slightly vesicular basalt was found in Tomb ST129. Further up the slope, the outcrops are this vesicular basalt. So overall, the researchers conclude that both tombs were built at the same time and follow similar patterns of construction. The main difference is that ST129 is surrounded by a quadrangular platform, something that's been observed at only one other tomb in the same sector, ST117. Although the basalt was quarried close to where the tombs were built rather than transported over great distances, sophistication was still required to construct each megalithic monument. The way that the monoliths were selected, worked and placed to create clearly demarcated spaces shows the role they played in the symbolic coding of the architecture. Further research will apply the same methodology to the rest of the extant monuments in the area. That's it. If you're still there, thank you for watching. Please hit the like button if you didn't already. I want to say a big thank you to my patrons and channel members. It's amazing that you're all there supporting my work behind the scenes, and I'll see you all next time.